Hey everyone, welcome back to Colorful Indian. It's been such a long time since I actually filmed a video, but today I am doing a declutter. Now I have mentioned to a few people that I'm going through a lot of changes right now in my life, so you can expect more consistent uploads like probably mid-April onwards, but for right now I'm trying my best. I do need to declutter my collection. This is the first declutter I have ever done, so bear with me. I'm going to show you everything that I am getting rid of. It's not as much as, other declutters that I've seen online, like hundreds and hundreds of palettes, but it's still a significant amount. So I'm going to be just showing you all of these palettes. So we're going to get into that. And if you're new here, my name is Ranita. I like to do all things makeup related, lifestyle as well, mental health occasionally. But today, we're going to be doing my very first declutter. So if all of that is something that you're interested in, then hit that subscribe button and, say hello, because I'd love to know if you're here. Okay, so let's begin. So the first palettes that I'm getting rid of are these over here. Now these are the Glam Light Drinks collection. This came out a while ago and I did 4 looks for every single palette. And I have to say that it was a little difficult parting with these, especially the green one. I loved this palette, I really do, but I have not reached for it since I actually finished those videos. And I have to say that the formula for these was just not really the best. The wine palette in particular, this was probably my least favorite palette from this collection because the purples were just terrible. They were just not able to stay on my face. They were getting so patchy as I was using them, and I felt relieved, just knowing that, hey, it's come to that point in time where I'm going to be decluttering it. Chocolate Martini was actually really nice. I enjoyed working with this palette. It's just that I have so many nude palettes right now, and like I said, formula of, all 4 of these palettes in general was just not my favorite, so I am getting rid of them. And this one, of course, here is Margarita. This was such a fun color story, and honestly, if I could keep palettes from this collection, I would probably keep Margarita, and I would keep Dirty Martini over here because I think these two were my favorites. But like I said, I'm ready for that change, so I'm going to be decluttering it and getting rid of it. I may actually purchase these two again, like maybe if there's like a formula update or something, but right now it's just not something that I want. So yep, we're saying goodbye to these over here. Okay, next I have a ton of palettes by Cara Beauty, so that's all of these over here. Now I did keep one of the palettes from their what do you call it, their Astrology, like series. Like I actually bought quite a few, so these are all of them over here. Now I never actually really used these as much as I thought I was going to, maybe like once or twice, and then I never touched them again. So I realized that that means I'm not really the biggest fan of these, but it's a nice color story. It's just that I feel like I could get these colors and I could build this again from like other palettes, and it's just, not something that I'm reaching for as much. Same thing for this Sagittarius. It was just very, very red, very, very pink. Not my favorite color stories at all, so I'm just getting rid of it. Capricorn was probably the most interesting one aside from Pegasus. It had a very, very nice color story, which I think I can build with my other colors, so that's the reason why I'm getting rid of this one as well. Okay, so the next one that I have is Escape the Ordinary, also by Cara Beauty. This is, like I said, a big Cara Beauty thing. This palette has, a lot of pretty like bright shades. I think it would be really nice for spring, but I have better quality shades and formulas and everything, so I'm letting go of this one. I barely use this. I think I only used like a couple of shades from here, and that was that for me. And the fact that these have 2 glitters over here means that, it's a deal breaker for me. I just don't really use glitter anymore on my eyes because it hurts so much when I'm trying to get it off my eyes, and then, I just don't want to deal with that anymore. Now this over here is such a pretty palette. This is Sip Sip Hurry, also by Cara Beauty. This is practically a new palette. I only used this like once and that was it, and you can barely see that I've actually used the shimmers. So again, really, really nice formula, beautiful. Again, like for spring, if I could just keep like these like 3 rows over here, like the pinks and the greens and the blues, I would keep that. But since I can't, I'm going to get rid of the palette because I'm just not reaching for it enough. Next, I have this Cara Beauty over here again, another yellow palette, really, really pretty. As you can see, I always go for like very, very colorful palettes, very pretty ones. I really like this color story, but again, the deal breaker for me here is this, the glitter, which I'm simply not using anymore. When I bought these palettes, I was very heavily like, into makeup, using it and everything, and then I started seeing my wrinkles and I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be using glitter as much anymore, so I'm fine with actually letting all of these ones go. Next, we have some Beauty Bay palettes. So I have Age of Opulence over here, which I did use, but I'm simply, almost dropped that. I'm simply not using this palette enough. It has a very, very pretty color story, but I just don't reach for this, and I think that there are much better formulas out there, so I just don't feel like I need this, and I'm decluttering it for that reason. And next I have Wilderness. Now I know that a lot of people were waiting for this palette to come back in stock, and you know, I again have not been using this as much as I should. I think it's a beautiful color story, but again, I'm just not reaching for this palette at all. I've just kind of gone so heavily into my duochromes, my multi-chromes. I feel like I have better formulas, hence I'm getting rid of it. This one, now the next few palettes had a long time coming, okay? Like they should have been removed ages ago. I've just not had time to actually go through my collection and declutter it, so this is the first one. So this is a brand that I no longer support. I will never support again because of what happened last year. There was a lot of drama around this. They basically removed a lot of influencers, including myself, from their social media, and I just did not like the reason behind, you know, being removed, because I was not contacted about anything. So I don't want to support this brand. If you want to support that brand, you have, you know, obviously every right to do so, but I personally will not be doing that. So I'm getting rid of this now because I just don't like the color story. I would never reach for this palette and use it on its own. So, you know, it's goodbye for me over here. And, you know, like I said, many other palettes with better quality. Now, these palettes over here, and there are 3 of them. So there's Dawn of Fall, Cool Summer, and Heartbreak over here. I actually like the shades in here. I'm planning to get into BYOPs more, and I'm going to be depotting all of these colors, and I will not be tagging them. I will just be putting this as unknown brand because I'm, like I said, I don't support this anymore, and I was very disappointed overall with the way that things were handled last year. But yeah, these are basically the color stories right now from this. So I'm going to be depotting and, you know, saying goodbye. So these are, it's kind of like a declutter, but not exactly. I just wanted to state that, you know, I'm removing them from the things because I really like the shades, but I don't want to actually have memories of this particular brand. Okay, so next I have palettes by Lime Crime. So this is one of them, and I just don't feel like this really matches my, you know, personality in any way. I don't even know why I bought this palette. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, why? Like, I can't understand why I would have gotten this, but yeah, like I said, I'm just not feeling it. I don't reach for this, so, you know, that's a goodbye for me. The next one is also by Lime Crime, another palette that I barely touched since buying it, and I just don't feel like the quality of these is all that great. I feel like there are better shimmers out there, so I don't need these colors, and I feel like, you know, they're easily replaceable. You can dupe them with other brands, and if I feel that way about a palette, I just don't feel like I need to be keeping it. I also have this. Now, this is a very old palette by Juvia's Place, which I've had for like probably almost 10 years. Yeah, because I actually bought Juvia's Place in 2015, and you can see what it's like. I've used this for so many things, but I'm getting rid of it because I'm just ready to let go of it. I'm replacing it with Alter Ego because Alter Ego has so many nudes, so I'm ready to say goodbye to this. And it was a fantastic palette. I do love it. I just feel like, you know, it's been 10 years and it's time for an upgrade. I could always repurchase that one though, because I actually did feel like that was pretty good for my brows and like just, you know, very neutral looks if I'm going out in a rush. So I did enjoy the Nubian very much. This is a palette by Kaleido Cosmetics, not Kaleidos, but Kaleido Cosmetics. So it's a difference. These are two. This is not the same brand as Kaleidos, but basically, you know, just look at this. I mean, it's 6 shimmers in a eyeshadow, you know, palette, and I just never reached for this as much. So I kind of feel like the packaging is very pretty. It's just not a palette that I have reached for at all since getting it. So I'm like, yeah. This is a pastel palette by Profusion, which I used a couple of times. I will say that the formula is very chalky. It's just not really the best formula. And now with things like, now with brands like Blend Bunny and all of that, and Simply Posh, who are coming out with excellent pastel formulas, I just don't feel like I need something like this anymore. Now this is a lip color set by Suzy Keki. It was a brand that came out very briefly. I don't even know if they're around anymore or whatever, but they did gift it to me. I can't get the box open, but basically there were a lot of lip colors in here. So I used it like a couple of times, but I've just never really reached for this set as much as I think I should have, and the formula is not my favorite. I'm really going heavily now into like skincare makeup. I want something that really moisturizes or does something for my skin. So if you're not doing that as a makeup product, I'm saying goodbye to you, especially if you're like a lip gloss and a lipstick. Okay, next I have this by Pat McGrath. So this is a beautiful palette, but again, just another one that, you know, just look at the color story. It's like this. And I used this like a couple of times. I love the formula of Pat McGrath, but I just don't reach for this enough. I feel like I just don't. So I'm getting rid of it because I just don't love it. I don't need it. Like if I love a palette, then I will definitely be keeping it. Next I have this Indigo. I got this from I think a beauty box. I actually like this color story very much, but I simply don't reach for it enough, and you know, that's a good enough reason to get rid of it for me. But they look so pretty. Like, honestly, these shades together look amazing. This brand is no longer around though, so it doesn't even make sense for me to use it and then be like, hey, you know, like I'm using this that, you know, you can't actually have access to and buy, so there's no point. Now these are individual shades by Nomad Cosmetics, which I purchased. I think they were getting rid of these, you know how they have their sales when they're letting go of products, and I never use them. I never use these. These are single shades, and you know, I just don't reach for single shades. In fact, I find it problematic doing single shades, right? Because like most of the time I never work with one shade. I think those days of using one shade on your eye are just gone. Maybe some people do that, but for me, those days are gone. So yeah, I'm getting rid of these. They're brand new. Probably gonna give them to a friend or something, whoever would like it, but I don't want this in my collection because I'm not using them. There's just no point keeping them. Okay, this is another one by Susie Keki over here. It's a highlighter palette, and it looked really, really pretty. They sent this out and I tried it out. It's okay. It's not the best. You know, now that I've tried like hundreds and hundreds of other highlighters from all the indie brands, I just feel like this is mediocre. It's very pretty, but it's not something that I would want in my collection because I would never reach for that again, and I just don't want it. So this is another palette by It's Belle Cosmetics. I should have mentioned this before, but I'm getting rid of this because I just don't support the brand anymore. Okay, next I have this over here, Base Blue Cosmetics, which I was so excited about during Black Friday last year because they were selling this for $4, and I feel like this is not even worth $4. This is more like $2. I not like the formula, hate this. It's not made for girls with darker skin, even for lighter skin. It just sucks. Like, as a palette, this is so weak. The design is beautiful, and I hate the palette. So yeah, goodbye. I don't want to have anything to do with that anymore. This is Ace Beauty. I received this in one of my Ipsies, and it's got a nice story. It's very, very pretty. It's purple, black, very, very nice story, but I just don't reach for it ever. And I just don't feel like, you know, this is my favorite formula either, so I'm just letting that one go. I got this as well from another company. I don't remember who it was because it's been so long, but it's literally been sitting in my, you know, makeup collection for so long, and I've just never reached for this, like, ever. So I'm saying goodbye to that as well. I just don't want to, you know, use it anymore. Okay, now this is Besame Cosmetics Sleeping Beauty. I actually bought this online because I love like Besame's, you know, designs and everything, but again, I never reached for this palette. And honestly, when you look at the story, the color story over here, it just feels very like boring to me. Like, I would not reach for this color story. I bought it because of the design of the book, which I thought was so pretty, but then I realized that's not a good enough reason to keep this in my collection, so I'm getting rid of it. I don't want it anymore. Next I have this by Be Perfect Cosmetics. I was really, really big on Be Perfect Cosmetics palettes for a very long time, and I love their Carnival palettes. I regret not getting the Antidote, you know, that was the really fall themed one, and I really regret not getting that one. But this one is another one, and look at the color story here. It's nice, it's got highlighters and all of that, but again, don't reach for this ever. Whenever I'm reaching for a Be Perfect palette, it is always the Carnival ones, so I just don't feel like this is necessary in my collection, and I'm saying goodbye to it. Okay, so we're coming down to the last few palettes. Now these are 3 palettes from Fantasy Cosmetics, which I actually really like. I have used these like personally, like I bought these as a gift just for myself, just to enjoy and have fun. Now don't get me wrong, I love the color stories here, and I really like the formula. It's very reminiscent to me of Simply Posh and just, you know, the other brand that shall not be named, which I'm, you know, depotting in this video. But I do like the color stories of these, and I am actually selling this because these are the first versions that came out. So basically what happened was I purchased these and I was so excited about them, and then after I had purchased these, they announced that they were coming out with like magnetic palettes, and I was really upset about that because I was like, oh, like if I had known about the magnetic palettes, I wouldn't have purchased these. So I'm getting rid of these solely because I want to repurchase them and have the magnetic palettes, because I'm going to be getting into building my own palettes in 2024, and that's an important part of the process. I just don't have use for this anymore. The colors are lovely though, and I did have a good time using these palettes, so this is mostly only because of the palettes not being magnetic. I would always go for a magnetic palette any day over a non-magnetic one, right? So this over here is the Gianna, you know, highlighting and contour palette, and as you can see, this is not made for my skin tone. I think the highlighters could work, but that contour shade, no, it's not going to work. It's looking like it would just be perfect for someone who's light-skinned. So so I'm giving it away mostly for that reason. This is an Adept Cosmetics palette, and I just don't see myself reaching for this ever. But I did, to be fair, I did get this free when I made a purchase last year, I think during Black Friday. I can't remember what it was. This is a palette by Amore USA. So I bought this mainly because it said Firebird, and Firebird, the Firebird was my favorite fairy tale growing up as a child. It's a Russian story, and you can go and read about it. It's just a really fun story, and I just absolutely loved it. Now the color story in here is actually very, very pretty. There are some, you know, like more like, I think there's kind of like a glitter and stuff in here. I have used this very, very lightly, and I also have their macaroon palette. I kind of got these both around the same time. I do like the color story, but I feel like I could build this with anything else, and I'm very overwhelmed by big palettes, and I just don't reach for them as much. So I decided that, you know, it's time to just give this away because I'm simply not reaching for it enough. I love the design though, and I would, you know what, I think I may actually create my own version of the Firebird simply because I absolutely love that story, and I was so excited that they did this. I really hope that someone actually comes up with like a Firebird palette, but maybe with not so many shades, because I will find that very overwhelming. Okay, this was a very obvious palette that, you know, I'm giving away. This is Wonder Beauty Sweet Escape. I had mentioned this in my Ipsy and how I'd only used it like a couple of times and then never reached for it again. This is just not my favorite color story at all, and I'm just ready to give it away. It has some pretty shades in here, but you know, I can get better ones from other brands, and I do have better ones from other brands, so I'm ready to say goodbye to that. And we're coming to another Glam Light, which I totally forgot about. So this is my Glam Light Pizza palette. I use this like maybe once or twice. I just don't like the design. It just doesn't make sense to me anymore. Like, I used to love Glam Light's, you know, palette designs and stuff, and I thought they were really, really fun. But the fact that I have like reached for this probably like once or twice since buying it just doesn't justify me keeping this palette. It's just too big, clunky, and it doesn't make any sense to keep it. When you're working, like when I'm working anyway, I kind of prefer smaller. So yeah, I'm saying goodbye, and it's not my favorite color story either. Like, I love their ice cream palette. That's probably my favorite one from Glam Light so far. And I haven't really tried a lot of their newer palettes because I kind of took a break from them after doing, you know, the whole drinks thing. And then I saw their color stories that were coming out. I saw some I really liked, but I just never felt like, yeah, if I don't have this, I'm going to die, you know? Like, it's that kind of feeling. So I'm kind of trying to make myself patient enough to see palettes like that, and then if I really feel that way about a palette, then I buy it. If I have a genuine interest in like testing it out and seeing like, oh, you know, is this actually really good? Last but not least, I have this. This is not a makeup palette, obviously. This is just something that I'm getting rid of as well. This is the Scintillating Diamond Body Shimmer, also by Pat McGrath. I am just not someone who uses stuff like this. So I used it like once or twice, and that was that, you know. Never again. So I'm giving this away as well. So yeah, that's basically it. I don't know how many palettes that was. I'll probably count and let you know, but that is all of the things that I'm getting rid of from my collection. You know, over the years I have done like mini declutters, but I do it without telling people. I just get rid of whatever I don't want and whatever is not working in my collection. But I figured that, you know, I'm going to start doing this now. Like, if there's products that I just don't want anymore, I'm going to do a video and tell you why I don't want it anymore. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this mini declutter, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. I will see you around mid-April for another video. As you know, I am just really, really not able to sit down and film as much as I want to right now. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into it, and I'm grateful that I got to share my first declutter with all of you. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye.